All the talk just now is about Celtic's nothing each draw with Kairat Almaty during the week, and that noise will continue to rumble on for some time, or at least until Tuesday's return leg. But in the meantime, there's another game to take care of. Celtic play Livy on Matchday 3 tomorrow, Saturday, 3 o'clock kick-off at Celtic Park. And here to join me for the countdown to kick-off is Greg. Greg, what's your general vibe just now? We don't want to labour too much on midweek because, as I say, there is a new focus, but where are you at just now?
Yeah, I suppose like most folk, Tino, to be honest, we briefly touched on it before the show there. Trying to remain positive, but the positivity is dwindling, it has to be said. I don't want to dwell on it too much, as you said as well, but Wednesday really came home to roost. We are short in a whole number of areas. I think to have Scales, Forrest and Ralston playing in the pitch at the same time, with all due respect to those guys, it's not where you want to be for a playoff match. And we're now heavily relying on guys like that to come in and take us through a European and a domestic campaign for the short time anyway. So yeah, it's a real trial at the moment. I think Almaty were very well organised the other night, and I think we'll probably face that again tomorrow in Livy. It's probably going to be a very similar game. They're going to pack the defence. They're going to put a lot of men behind the ball. Usually I'd be looking forward to a game like that and go up to Parkhead on a Saturday 3 o'clock kick-off, but I think like most of us were a little bit apprehensive about what the next few games might bring. Trying to remain positive, but it is as I say, it's hard work at the moment. It's a bit of a grind, it has to be said.
Yeah, they don't make it easy for you to stay in a positive frame of mind. You mentioned, chickens coming home to roost, and that strategy that Celtic have adopted, which seems, clear now that we're waiting to see if we qualify before pushing the button on various signings. And as mentioned earlier on, hope isn't a strategy. Hope that you go through, and fingers crossed that you go through, isn't a strategy. It's a roll of the dice. It's a shot in the dark type thing, and you'd like to think that the club will learn from these mistakes moving forward, but this is an often repeated pattern at Celtic, and I don't know, I'm not overly optimistic with the possibility of change, Greg, moving forward. But as I say, let's try and keep it on track in terms of tomorrow's game against Saturday. You'll have seen the headlines, I'm sure, by now, but the big news and the tough news is that Alistair Johnston faces around about 12 weeks on the sidelines. He went off after about 35 minutes on Wednesday, and you've seen at the time how stricken he was. He looked in serious pain at the time. He reappeared on the crutches, but it seems that the scan has showed up that he won't be back for another 12 weeks. Brendan Rodgers was asked, what do you do about that? Do you look to go to the market, or do you replace internally? And the latter was his response. He said, we've got Tony Ralston there, and we've got young Colby Donovan in backup. We've seen a bit of Colby Donovan in pre-season. I actually quite like what I've seen, Greg, but to go into the Champions League, if we're lucky enough to now make it, with Tony Ralston as your lead fullback and Donovan as your backup, again, it's reflective of poor squad management.
Totally. Yeah, even domestically, I'm not sure that stands up, with all due respect to those two guys. I think we covered it in the last show, Tino, about how important our two fullbacks are, and we gave it the kiss of death because we said it's probably the best two fullbacks we've had for ages, and then therein AJ gets injured. It looked really nasty at the time, and obviously it's transpired to be a really nasty injury for him, which is a shame because he started the season very well, and I really thought he would kick on this season again and go up another level. So it's a real blow. It leaves us in a real predicament because we now have at the other side, for me, they were our two lines of creativity in Johnson and Kieran Tierney. You now have Alistair Johnston missing, and you have Kieran Tierney who can only play about 60-70 minutes. So it leaves us in a real problem area. You say, will they go into the market? I will not hold my breath, but it leaves us awful short in that area and kind of scrambling. It's a real shame for Alistair Johnston, and yeah, I like Ralston, but for me, again, with all due respect, he's a squad player. And I don't mind him coming into games, but to rely on him as your first choice is worrying, to say the least.
And I think most folk feel similarly about Tony Ralston. They admire what he does and they admire his attitude and his effort. But he is a squad player, and squad players of that ilk are okay when they're just coming on for 20 minutes here and there, or keeping it fresh whilst you have Alistair Johnston there waiting in the wings. We now don't have that, and for Tony Ralston to now be your number one guy. Brendan Rodgers spoke during the week about the fact that he couldn't trust Hayato Inamura if he had to go up against someone like Yamin Lamau. And I say this with respect to Tony Ralston. The same applies. If Ralston's to come up against the best frontmen in Europe, guys that play for the Bayern Munichs, the PSGs, the Man Cities, etc., that's a tall order. And whatever happens, if we do manage to go through, we're ill prepared at this moment in time for what the Champions League football looks like, and there's so much work to be done. In terms of some other updates from the press conference, so the manager was talking about the fact that the full focus is on Livy and has to be. You can't look any further ahead. Of course, you can plan and try and keep guys fresh, and he says he will refresh the team, so there's going to be some changes, some enforced, some not, and we'll get to some other injury stuff in a moment. He said the first 5 minutes of any game is so important, and he didn't see that during the week. I think we can all agree with that. We never came out the traps, and Celtic were pushing a wee bit in the closing stages, but could equally have lost a goal at the other side. So at the moment, it seems that his message isn't quite getting through for whatever reason, and having a few new players in there, can be part of that. But, you'd like to think that there's enough in the dressing room experience-wise to start games and to see through games better than what we've done during the week.
Yeah, I suppose if there's any positivity, tomorrow brings with it that you can put guys, I think, like McCowan could come in and do a job tomorrow, and possibly Bernardo's, your Engels, guys like that who maybe haven't played much football the last few weeks, who are fresh, really need to come in tomorrow, and that could be a positive in terms of just turning things and giving us a little bit of spark. Not to win in the manager here, that I'm but I think days like tomorrow he needs to tweak his system. We play a 4-2-3-1, which is our 4-3-3, which is heavily reliant on our wingers, to which we don't have any at the moment, or you're very limited in that area. But it screams to me, go and change your system. Go and play something different, especially when we're going to be playing Livy tomorrow. We know how they're going to set up. I think it's in Brendan Rodgers to go and tweak things and do things differently tomorrow.
Okay, everyone, we're going to leave it there for now on this one, but if you'd like to watch the full episode, you can do that right now by joining us over on Patreon at patreon.com/Celtic Exchange. As a member, you'll get access to the rest of this episode, plus all of our additional shows, including pre- and post-match shows for every game, a range of extra episodes throughout the week, and loads more from the team here at Celtic Exchange. It only takes a couple of minutes to sign up, and once you're in, you can continue watching the show on your device or directly on the brilliant Patreon app. So that's patreon.com/Celtic Exchange, or just click the link in the show notes. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you over on Patreon shortly.